Here are some student-centered differentiation strategies. First off, keep in mind that student-centered learning has the real potential to be differentiated instruction. I mean, think about it. If a student is intimately involved in the planning, implementing, and assessment process of their learning, then naturally, they're going to plan, implement, and create assessments that are congruent with their current academic, social, and emotional levels. A teacher is most certainly needed to encourage the student to challenge themselves and to ensure learning standards are being met. However, the teacher may assume a facilitator role and guide the student to greater levels of involvement and achievement. Differentiate through teams. We all know the potential benefits of heterogeneous teams who are tasked with a project, but what about homogeneous teams for the purpose of differentiation? If you group kids based on academic achievement in your class content, then you will naturally be able to spend more time guiding the teams who are comprised of the lower level achievers. This leaves your higher achievers to learn the lessons that come from a less guided process, like leadership, collaboration, critical thinking, and delegation, while ensuring that your moderate and lower level achievers get the more concentrated instruction and guidance they need to meet the learning standards. Different students can be grouped for different differentiated purposes. The point is that each group is created with a purpose. While a teacher-generated rubric brings uniformity and lessens potential for learning standard deviation, it also may be the biggest inhibitor for a struggling student to meet the requirements of an assessment or project product. We all know students who have struggled to understand the rubric. Even taking most of a class hour to explain a rubric can be a common occurrence for a teacher-generated rubric. Why not allow the student to build their own rubric? It works. It really, really works. At the beginning of a unit, you can offer the students 10 learning standards and a blank rubric template. A whole lesson can be centered on students defining the standards for themselves. Students can compare and contrast their standard definitions with the state definitions. Refinement can then take place, and the students can choose 5 of the standards they want to achieve. This creates real buy-in as the students not only understand the standards, but take some ownership in them too. The rubric can be as individualistic as allowing each student to choose topic, content, learning process, and assessment, or the rubric can allow for the student to just choose one, maybe a topic, or a product for assessment, or the content. Design an assessment. This may not be possible in all content areas or schools, but if possible, why not let the student be involved in designing their own formative assessment? This may be for a single unit or a comprehensive midterm assessment covering multiple units. This can be done as a class group or on an individual level. If you're going to attempt this, it's best done at the beginning of a unit. If students are introduced to unit objectives, questions, and activities ahead of time, they can use this information to develop an assessment format that suits their individual learning needs. They may decide on a standard test, an essay, a presentation, a verbal test, a website, or any number of other formats that can be used to display content and skill mastery. Statement and standard. For example, as a humanities teacher, you may have a learning standard that reads something like, explain the historical, cultural, and social context of an individual work of the arts. You may then present this standard along with the statement, each era has particular works of art that have become iconic of that time period. After explaining to the students that works of art is much broader than paintings and can include literature, music, poetry, dance, sculptures, plays, etc., they can then be released to discover resources they will use to address the statement and ultimately prove proficiency on the learning standard. In this way, the learning content becomes their choice. This strategy can easily be coupled with the building their own rubric strategy to create a student-centered unit where content, learning process, and assessment have the potential to belong to the learner? Well, these are just a few of the student-centered differentiation strategies. I encourage you to look more up on Google and enjoy discovering how you can put the tools and the resources in the hands of your students to ensure that they take ownership of their learning.